Hello, 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 and welcome to the College of Creation. My name is Dan.
And my name is Michael.
And we are Dungeons & Dragons DMs who love to homebrew items, spells, creatures, and features for D&D. And this is a show where we make new homebrew every single week. We had a grand time these last couple of weeks playing through each other's dungeons because we were given a prompt to create 5-room dungeons based on dreams, but now we're back to our normal creation schedule, and we rolled for something that feels just like home. We got a subclass, folks. We got to make subclasses today.
Love it. Not only a subclass, but a ranger subclass.
Indeed, a ranger subclass.
My favorite class, and we've never been asked to make a ranger before.
This is true.
I'm super stoked this week.
We've made some features for rangers.
47 episodes, and we've never made a ranger subclass.
Amazing.
Yes, we have done some ranger features, yes.
Yeah, which have been very good. I have especially enjoyed your Primal Aegis feature that you created for rangers. I didn't build in any features into my creation today that were specifically tied to that concept, but I did consider building a ranger with that in mind, that that would be part of the thing.
Yeah.
And I think mine could actually really feed into that and utilize that as a feature for sure if I made some adjustments.
I did something similar. I did kind of take into account my different breakdown for Hunter's Mark die size.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I did kind of refer to that a little bit.
Same.
Did not specifically tie back to the Aegis, but I do think that any ranger that I make from now on, that is going to be in the back of my mind as something to play a subclass off of.
Yeah.
As I further develop that core class feature.
Definitely, yeah. And I think I agree. I also utilize some sense of it's likely that you're adjusting the ranger, at least the Hunter's Mark die, at least that effect is getting some adjustment. It would work better with mine, or at least with one feature of mine, if that is the case. But specifically, the theme that we were asked to make a ranger subclass around was a holiday. The inspiration was a holiday. Which I know you are a big fan of Christmas. Christmas is your primary holiday. Did you go with Christmas today without revealing too much?
I did not.
Okay.
My first instinct, even though I said I wouldn't last week, my first instinct was, why not? I'll just go ahead and do a Christmas Ranger. And I decided against that because I have made several Christmas-themed subclasses before. I have a Santa-themed warlock that I really like a lot. I have a New Year's Christmas-themed monk that I've made that I dislike a lot. But I have a lot of Christmas-themed stuff, so I wanted to just kind of cleanse my palate and go with something that I would not even have in my top 10 typical holiday picks. And I think I landed the plane. I
Nice.
think that I got the essence of the holiday that I picked.
Yeah, I mean, it was tempting to pick one of the big holidays, but I ended up going in a different direction. I went through so many different ideas coming up with this, because the easy ones that I started thinking about was well, there's Earth Day and Arbor Day, and those feel like they're already very much in the Ranger wheelhouse.
Those are basically Ranger days. Yeah.
Right. But then I thought, well, maybe not so much that. I had a couple other ideas that I'll go into. A couple of that I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And then I got halfway through creating it and was like, that's probably too similar to something else that exists already, actually.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I think it was a strong concept. And I think it has honestly just inspired me to, the next time I make a ranger, I'll just flavor it like that, and that'll be how I land that one. But I had a good time with this. I did some research, which is a thing that I love to do for these. I love to come up with the concept and do some research.
I remember the trees. I remember the cedar episode.
It's fun. Learning is fun, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll maybe both of us will go through some of our unchosen holidays that were ideas before where we landed on, because I have several that I went through before I got to my final idea.
Same. Michael, obviously, I know your favorite holiday is Christmas, but what are the other go-to holidays for you? What are your big holidays? Are you a big Halloween guy?
See, I always think leading up to Halloween that I'm a big Halloween guy. And then somehow time escapes me and it's 3 days before Halloween and I don't know what I'm going to do for Halloween.
Same.
And then it's like, okay, well, I guess Halloween. I will say that does change when you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
I have invested a lot of time in making my son's Halloween costumes. He's 3 now.
Okay.
So he's had 3 Halloweens. He was born just before Halloween on October 25th. So I think Halloween is bigger for me now than it used to be.
Yeah, nice.
As far as other big holidays, I think the big like social holidays are fun because I play in a band. So like the day before Thanksgiving is really fun. 4th of July is always fun. Not super keen on the actual 4th of July currently, but the festivities that surround it are nice.
Yeah, I have strong memories of I used to go up with a buddy of mine up to a cabin out in the mountains of Colorado, where he and some family friends have some cabins there on a big lake, and just bringing up all of our acoustic instruments and playing a little bluegrass set for the traditional pig roast on 4th of July, and they shoot off the fireworks above the lake, so you just you have a grand old time. That's a wonderful wonderful tradition that those sort of gatherings, those social event holidays are a great time.
I didn't pick any of those either.
Yeah, none of those.
I dug real deep.
Tempting in some ways to grab some of those, but didn't end up going with those myself either. Too low-hanging fruit. I think both of us made the conscious decision to not go for the low-hanging fruit.
I think those middle ground holidays, it would be really easy to just kind of make the ranger into like patriotic ranger or Irish ranger or spooky ranger. Like I wanted a little bit more of a challenge to like figure out what the layers of the holiday actually mean.
Me too. I think I landed something that I had fun with, and that it, like so many things that I think I bring to this show now, is really open for more growth and changes as it develops. And
for sure, for sure.
But conceptually, I thought, well, this is something I haven't really seen, and I think Ranger is actually kind of a fun and interesting fit for it. Maybe not the most intuitive fit for the class that this sort of concept would go for, but I think in the end, I think it works, and I think it's pretty fun. So I liked it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. I presented my dungeon first, and I just walked through your dungeon. Would you like to present your Ranger subclass first?
Indeed. So, like I said, I'll go through a few of my unused ideas first, really quickly. I did have a fleeting initial thought to go with Christmas, and I thought like a reindeer wrangler ranger would be fun. I couldn't get it far enough away from where Beastmaster sits now in 2024, and Drake Warden sits still in 2014. And I was like, this is just like, you could just make a Drake Warden and reflavor it to be a reindeer warden, and that would be fine. The idea that I was actually stuck on for the longest, even longer than the one that I actually made, was a ranger based around Groundhog's Day.
Okay.
And I based it more on the movie Groundhog's Day than the actual Groundhog's Day holiday, but it was all based around like doing things over and over again. The more you take actions, the more you learn from them. Like in the movie, Bill Murray just lives the same day over and over and over again, reporting on Groundhog's Day. and so this ranger would like the more you attack with a specific weapon in a row, the more bonuses stack on top of each other. As long as you really specialize in one thing, you can get super powerful with one thing, just doing the same thing over and over again. And I like that as a concept. I couldn't milk 5 features out of it.
Yeah, that's a fun concept.
At least not in a week.
Yeah, that's tough.
I want to put more ideas into it. I want to put more time into it. Maybe Ranger is not the right class for that. I thought also like a fighter would probably be a little bit better if you want to do like a martial stacking class, or a bard if you want to do like a spellcasting stacking class would be fun. But I gave up on that concept. And so eventually I landed on this. If you would open your document.
Excellent.
I call this ranger the Kindred Watchman. As you know, Dan, but our listeners do not yet, I am expecting a second child this summer, June, July time. And one of the things that has filled me with so much joy the past 3.5 years, is being a father. So I decided to go with Father's Day as my holiday of choice.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Also, congratulations
So
on behalf of
thank
all of the
you.
listeners and the members of
Thank
the Patreon. Congratulations. We're all very excited for you.
Thanks.
I certainly am.
super
I guess I
stoked.
can't speak for anyone else, but I certainly am.
They hate it. They're just not on board at all. But this, I tried to think less about like what Father's Day itself represents and what it and more on what it means to me, like how I feel towards my son. So this ranger is geared almost completely towards the protection of allies.
Love it.
And using the core ranger features as more of a support than an attack enhancement, which you'll see in a second.
I love that. I love that.
So the Kindred Watchman. Every young adventurer dreams of one day finding a mentor, a guide to assist the next generation of adventurers. Some lack the skill to do it, and others lack the work ethic, but every now and then a worthy figure emerges. As a watchman, you find worth in the protection of your allies and the passing on of your knowledge. While not required for the success of this subclass, it may suit you well during character creation and just after to cultivate a variety of different skill proficiencies that will ensure that at later levels you and your allies are presented with more flexibility. So right off the bat at level 3, we gain the Defensive Mark feature. You are hyper-vigilant when it comes to the protection of those you care about and have altered your abilities to aid them. If another creature has been targeted by your Hunter's Mark, you can choose one of the following options once on each of your turns instead of additional attack damage. You can either, as an action, restore hit points to the target equal to the value of your Hunter's Mark damage die. As a bonus action, allow the target to move up to half of their movement speed without provoking attacks of opportunity, or when you cast a spell with a range of self, cast it on the target instead. So this effectively changes Hunter's Mark from an offensive spell to a support healing defensive spell. So you can target your allies, you can mark your allies and aid them throughout battle instead of it just being a mark on your enemies.
Michael, we have managed to do something slightly mechanically similar here.
Okay.
I think it's fascinating to me. We'll talk more about it when we get to mine, but
Okay.
we both of us, like specifically and explicitly, made a choice to address the Hunter's Mark spell as not exclusively a like as written
damage dealing
spell, and have done something different with it, which I think is very cool. And yeah, like I consider doing something almost identical to what you've done here, honestly, in some of my building, because I mean, not to get too into the weeds here, but Hunter's Mark is a really interesting spell in that, like, yes, it has that caveat of you deal an extra 1d6 force damage whenever you hit that target with an attack roll. But it has the additional feature of you having advantage on perception and survival checks to find that creature.
Yep.
So you can
Yeah,
like
if your ally gets lost, you can find
it's
them.
actually a really
You can
reasonable
track
use
them.
of it to be like, I
like a
need to
homing
know
beacon,
where
yeah.
you are, and so I'll cast Hunter's Mark on you. I won't use it for the damage dealing portion of it, but I have this additional thing because I don't have access necessarily to locate creature or something like that at this point. But I can keep concentration on this, and then you can go somewhere else, and I can find you.
I have low-jacked you,
Which I think
it's magical. Find your phone, yeah.
Like it's not an explicit use of the spell, and I don't think it's a very common use, but it actually is a really interesting and creative use of the spell. And I love that you've added in another feature here that further incentivizes you to use it in that way as a homing beacon sort of spell, more than a damage spell, which I think is very cool. Nice, I love it. Proceed.
And that deepens as my features go on.
Great.
But we'll get to that in a second. Next up, we have some granted spells. We have the Kindred Magic feature. You learn the Guidance and Resistance cantrips, as well as the additional spells shown in the table below. At 3rd level, we learn Sanctuary. 5th level, we learn Suggestion. Use your dad voice to suggest something to somebody else.
Yep.
9th level, we have Life Transference, giving some of your own vitality to help your allies. At 13th, we have Death Ward, trying your best to protect your allies from ultimate demise. And at 17th, we have Rary's Telepathic Bond. I picture that as like the dad who's also the coach, and it's like the huddle up moment where he's just like trying to like keep everybody together. What could be better than a telepathic bond for that type of thing? Also at level 3, we have the Fatherly Form feature. Your reflexes are in peak condition. You gain proficiency in athletics as well as strength and dexterity saving throws. Additionally, if you are within melee range of another creature who is the target of a projectile attack and marked by your Hunter's Mark spell, you can use your reaction to catch the projectile, adding it to your inventory.
Oh, cool.
So this is just dad reflexes.
Yeah.
So they have to be marked. Originally, I did not have that included, and it was limited to wisdom modifier per long rest that you could do this.
Right.
But I think being marked by Hunter's Mark is a limiting enough factor for this not to have a cap.
Yeah,
Maybe.
you'd have
Need
to
some testing, but we'll see.
You'd have to just you're maintaining concentration on it. You can only cast it, however many times per day.
Right.
You do get the bonus castings innately for the new ranger. So maybe that is I don't know. It'd have to have some testing, but I think it's pretty cool. It's a nice, it's not quite the protection or interception fighting style. It's a little bit different, and has that added benefit of you can then have some new equipment. So if you're running a particularly higher inventory tracking sort of game, that could be very useful.
Oh, yes. I will take this spear. Thanks.
Yes. That's mine now.
It's my spear now. Yeah. Sorry, you thought you were attuned to this?
Cool.
Not anymore.
I love it.
At level 7, we have the Shared Interests feature. You make sure to familiarize yourself with the talents of your peers. Whenever you finish a long rest, select a number of willing creatures equal to your wisdom modifier. All selected creatures gain proficiency in a skill of their choice that you are proficient in. In like kind, you gain proficiency in a skill from each of the chosen creatures. If you are already proficient in a chosen skill, you instead gain expertise. These changes last until you complete another long rest. So you gain up to 5 new proficiencies / expertises at the top of every rest.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But others also gain proficiencies from you. So kind of sharing your knowledge with the group.
Yeah, nice.
At 11th level, we have the Comforting Presence feature. You have a knack for easing the minds of others. You permanently emanate an aura of comfort out to 15 feet. All creatures of your choice, including yourself within the aura, gain a +1 bonus to their armor class, have advantage on saves against becoming frightened, and can't have their hit point maximum reduced.
Nice. That's
And then
clutch.
the capstone at level 15, we have the Apex Protector feature. You have adapted to act quickly and split your attention. You can attack 3 times instead of twice whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Also, if you're concentrating on a ranger spell, you can cast Hunter's Mark without it requiring concentration. You cannot use this feature to cast Hunter's Mark more than twice.
Okay, cool.
So if you're concentrating on a different spell, you can cast Hunter's Mark on top of that.
Right.
And I guess if you're casting Hunter's Mark, you can cast a second Hunter's Mark, but you can't just like double down on that over and over and over again.
Right.
So you can be assisting an ally with Hunter's Mark and also, think about your telepathic bond at 17th level or Sanctuary or something like that.
Does this imply that you could keep concentration on like a Zephyr Strike, for example, but then also cast 2 Hunter's Marks?
No.
Okay. I think the wording implies that you could do like one concentration spell that's different, and then potentially Hunter's Mark twice on 2 different creatures.
I'm going to make an edit and say that you can't use this feature to cast more than 2 concentration spells at a time.
Yeah, maybe that's the move.
I think that's the better way to word that. Because I'm not mad about 2 Hunter's Marks at the same time.
No, yeah.
I am mad at infinite stacks
You're right.
of Hunter's Marks. That would be severely broken. But that'd be a cool stack, though. Zephyr Strike underneath a Hunter's Mark. That'd be sick.
Well, I've definitely have players who like prefer Zephyr Strike often and end up going for that more because it gives them more ability to move around and do stuff. And we'll recast it for the second advantage. But then they don't get the Hunter's Mark stuff. Which is, something that we discussed, I think, in our previous discussions around the Ranger, and the 2024 Ranger that is sort of limiting how much they've added reliance on Hunter's Mark as a core class feature. And how that sort of limits the rest of the spell casting, which I did try to address in mine a bit. But as far as your build here, I really like this. I like that it has like paladin energy, right? It has that like Oath of Protection sort of vibe, especially with the Comforting Presence. It's got that aura sort of thing going on. The Fatherly Form obviously gives you a little bit of that like fighting style that generally would require some sort of shield and some sort of more paladin style play. But I think it does feel like it leans into the Ranger sides of it.
Yeah, I think it very easily could slip into the Oath of the Child. You're
right.
You're 2 steps away from just being a paladin that's devoted to the protection of their son. But with the skills and the additional like resistance to fear and those different like survival elements, I think it just treads the line on the side of Ranger, which is cool. It's not a typical Ranger for sure. But
I agree. It. And I like a support Ranger. You will see that on mine as well. That definitely having more of a support focus, I think, is very cool. Because a lot of the Rangers that we have, the subclasses at least, the ones that got ported over to 2024 at least, are really not support focused.
Oh yeah, offense heavy for sure.
There's a little bit of support focus in the Fey Wanderer, but not a ton.
Yeah, especially with the updates to Hunter and Gloomstalker are just and Beastmaster. They're
Beastmaster is much more offensive.
Really kind of tuned up to be a midliner, frontliner character. Especially if you don't have a true tank in your party. If you're lacking that fighter or barbarian or paladin, your ranger can really step up and be that presence in 2024. But not this one.
No, yeah,
you get 3 attacks. You get 3 attacks.
You get your 3 attacks.
15, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a cool version of a ranger that I think is neat, and I like a support ranger for sure.
Thanks, man. What about you?
So I started, like I said, thinking about like Earth Day, Arbor Day, naturey holidays, and was like, I don't like any of those all that much. They just feel like I'm not sure what the deal is here. Maybe a plant focused ranger, but like I don't know. I've made so much stuff for druids. It feels like, especially recently, that I'm like, I don't want to lean into the really druidy feeling side of things. So let's think of another holiday. I was like, okay, well, what about the other sort of side of Rangers that feels really core is like archery. Like, oh, archery. Wait, Valentine's Day, Cupid, Archer, Cupid. What does that mean? Okay, maybe you can like charm creatures when you hit them with your arrows and stuff like that. And maybe there's something about, lean into the really charmy effects. I was thinking about like Hades and the stuff that the boons that you can get from Aphrodite that are all charm based. And then I read The Fey Wanderer again, was like, oh, this is all about charm and frighten. It's right there. Yeah. It's like too much crossover. Yeah. So we already have a super charm focused one. And yeah, Cupid does give off like Fey energy. So, okay. So we're back to the drawing board a little bit. And then I started thinking globally. I started thinking about other holidays that aren't so widely celebrated here, in my experience of the U.S. in like Western white American culture, and started looking in other places for like ideas. Just got back from a trip to Japan where there are all kinds of festivals over there, and there are so many interesting and cool festivals around. The places that I live now are really metropolitan, or cosmopolitan, I should say. Lots of different cultural influences all the time. All around, so I get exposed to a lot more of that than I did back in the place where I grew up, which was pretty predominantly white suburban sort of situation. And so just thinking about some of those other ideas, I thought, well, maybe I can, learn a little bit and come up with an idea that isn't appropriative, but leans into some of those ideas. I didn't put in so many details, and I didn't put in so many like really strongly core tied ideas. Just sort of the general sense of like, what do we want this to feel like? And it can be flavored in whatever way you want it to, but this is the inspiration point. We did just turn over to the new Lunar New Year very recently here.
Yep.
And that is a widely celebrated day. A lot of the traditions and festivals are rooted in the traditions of Chinese New Year. But more broadly, the idea of Lunar New Year is so ubiquitous that I thought, well, that would be a really fun and interesting thing to explore more and to think about. So I dug into and researched some of the traditions, some of the ideas around Chinese New Year and Lunar New Year, what these things mean, what some of the festivals and celebrations are all about there, and came up with something that has the vibes, I think, of good fortune, good luck, cleansing and renewal for the Lunar New Year, and came up with something that I am calling for now the Lion Dancer, although it doesn't have a lot to do with the actual tradition of lion dances, but that's the name I came up with in all of this. So here it is.
The Purple Dragon Knight exists.
Indeed.
And that has nothing to do with Purple Dragon Knights.
Exactly.
So just following the form,
If somebody out there has a better idea for what this could be called, because it doesn't really say anything about lions or dancing at all, at least not much, let me know. But for now, I'll just say it's the Lion Dancer. Lunar New Year is a time of renewal, reunification, and celebration. Blessings of good fortune are showered upon friends and neighbors, and the arrival of spring is heralded with gifts and traditional ceremonies and festivals. Among the many symbols of the Lunar New Year are red envelopes with gifts of currency, glowing paper lanterns, and the animals of the zodiac, and parades of brightly colored lion dancers. Obviously, there are so many more things that go into these celebrations, and they're incredibly localized to their region. But all of these things are harbingers of good luck. These lions in particular with beguiling and entertaining movements help to ward off evil and protect the fortunes of the celebrants. So, at level 3, you gain the Mark of Fortune. And this is the feature that I feel like ties closely to your idea. When you cast your Hunter's Mark spell, you can also send a sign of good fortune to one additional creature, including yourself, within range of the spell. Choose from the following animal trines when you cast the spell, and the chosen creature gains the listed benefits for the duration of the spell. So the animals of the Chinese zodiac exist in these trines. 3 animals of specific traits. Certain ideas and certain elements are attributed to these certain animals. Obviously, each one specifically has a little bit more specificity to their traits, but in general, the ones that are within trines together generally have a similar demeanor about them. So we begin with the water trine, which are the rat, the dragon, and the monkey. With this feature, once per turn, the target can re-roll a failed ability check or attack roll, but must use the second roll, leaning into the idea of water being adaptable, resourceful, ever-moving, ever-changing. The metal trine is the ox, the snake, and the rooster. The target gains temporary hit points equal to a roll of your Hunter's Mark damage die at the start of each of its turns. So resilience, strength, more constitutes sort of ideas in the metal trine. The fire trine can be impulsive, a little bit rash, quick to action in sometimes a good way and sometimes a bad way. That is the tiger, the horse, and the dog. The target gains a bonus to damage rolls equal to your wisdom modifier. And then the wood trine, the rabbit, the goat, and the pig. The target gains a bonus to all saving throws equal to your wisdom modifier. It's very steady, calm, and composed and centered. Sometimes interior a little bit, and solitary, but that sort of steady, stabilizing force. When you reach 11th level in this subclass, you can choose 2 creatures instead of just 1. When you do this. So again, allowing you to use the Hunter's Mark spell, but also as a support feature at the same time. So you can still get your Hunter's Mark bonus, but you're also getting a little bit of support out there on the field as well. You also get some granted spells at level 3. When you reach 3rd level, 5th, 9th, and 13th, and 17th, these are generally around the ideas of luck, changing luck, or warding off evil, or understanding, the fortune of things to come. So Silvery Barbs is there at level 3. It's fine, everybody. It's a fine spell. Give it to them. And Rangers especially don't have that many spell slots to burn on it. So give it to them. Just adjusting the fortunes of creatures around you. Then at 5th level, you get Pyrotechnics, just so you can shoot off some fireworks, because that's fun and celebratory. Then you get Magic Circle to ward off evil. You get Divination to understand some portion of the future. And you get Hallow to further ward off evil and unwanted forces.
I love the idea of a ranger being able to cast Hallow.
Yeah, it feels right, huh?
What a very cool... Yeah. Maybe not for every ranger, but certainly this type of ranger. A support ranger 100% should be able to take time, especially in downtime, to fortify a place for their party. Yeah. It fits really well.
And then finally, this is the only thing that actually leans into the idea of the lion dance, is the other 3rd level feature, the Enthralling Steps. So while you are concentrating on any ranger spell, anytime your movement would trigger an opportunity attack, the attacker must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your ranger spell save DC before it attacks. On a failed save, the creature does not attack you, but also does not expend its reaction. So just giving you a little additional ability to move freely around the battlefield. Considering the feature I had in here originally was just around flexibility and allowing you to renew yourself regularly. And that allowed you to, instead of replacing only one of your prepared spells every long rest, you could replace your whole list.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know which one I like better of these features. I like that one for like the renewal theme of it, and also giving this ranger a little bit more flexibility. This third level 3 feature is a pretty minor ribbon generally. It's usually a passive thing. So I wasn't quite sure what was better there, but I kind of like both of them. Then at level 7, you gain the Beacon of Fortune. When a creature within 30 feet of you, including you, rolls a natural 1 on an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to allow the creature to re-roll the d20 and take the second result. That's it.
Yeah.
At level 11, you gain Fortunate Turn. When a target of your Hunter's Mark is reduced to 0 HP or rolls a 1 on the d20 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, one target of your Mark of Fortune that you choose can treat the result of the next ability check, attack roll, or saving throw it makes as a 20 on the d20.
Ooh.
You're pulling from the bad fortune of your Hunter's Mark target to grant your allies better fortune in the future. And then finally at level 15, you get the Cleansing Renewal feature. And that just says, at the start of each of your turns, you can end one of the following conditions affecting one target of your Mark of Fortune feature. Either charmed, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, or stunned.
Great.
That's it. You just renew the status of some of your allies at the beginning of your turn, consistently and continually renewing folks' statuses and bringing them back into good fortune. So yeah, like I said, like a lot of it is not super tied thematically, partially because I didn't want to like step on any toes or like claim to know things that I don't know fully or understand fully.
Right.
And so I wanted to latch on to something that is somewhat universal, which I think is just the idea of changing luck and easing things towards good fortune through these features. And tying it all mostly to Hunter's Mark still, so that, if the class is going to continue to stay tied to Hunter's Mark, the subclasses should synergize with that as well, I think.
For sure. And I think what we've both done today kind of expands upon what we have talked about regarding other classes a lot since the shift to 2024, and not so much Ranger because it's not as obvious, but Brutal Strikes from Barbarians and the new Cunning Strikes from Rogues, where there's something built in now to the base class that can have specific additions based on subclass.
Right.
It's more buried for Rangers because Hunter's Mark is an established spell, right? It's not a feature, quote unquote. The spell is the feature, and I think 100% most, if not all, Ranger subclasses should make use of Hunter's Mark in a unique way, like this, because it makes it more interesting. If you're just relying on Hunter's Mark to be Hunter's Mark as written, 8 out of 10 Rangers are just going to be Hunter's Mark machines, and now we have the monk problem all over again.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting. I like that we both went this direction. Different kind of tines of the fork in the road, but we strangely came together. Our brains thought of the same thing. And it's really great.
Well, and that's also a thing, is that like I very much considered doing exactly what you did, and just really explicitly saying the intention here is for you to cast Hunter's Mark on your allies, and then giving it additional features. So I considered for a while I had the feature as, when you cast Hunter's Mark on an ally, you can choose to apply one of these trine effects as well. Giving you not the damage, but you still do get the ability to find them, and you get the added benefit of this spell. I decided against it just because I don't want to fully take away the aspect of it that allows the damage portion of the class to function, primarily because so much of the criticism around the 2014 Ranger is that its damage output isn't sufficient.
Yeah, I mean, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah.
So I hedged a little bit, but I really do think like creating something like that, and maybe that's why my thought is really that like the Ranger ability that is Hunter's Mark should maybe not be tied to a spell, should be a feature that does a slightly different thing than Hunter's Mark itself, because then it would be truly unique, right? But I don't know exactly how that works. I would have kept the favored foe situation in that case, because I think that is what that is, right? It's a Hunter's Mark without being Hunter's Mark, and it's a little bit more unique. And so you could have tied a feature like our features here to something else instead of feeling like we were a little bit bound to tying them to Hunter's Mark. But I really do like that we both found an interesting way to use Hunter's Mark that isn't necessarily exactly as written.
Yeah. I mean, changing the effects of a spell kind of gets dicey.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're messing with the Ranger's ability to like manipulate magic, which is not really what a Ranger's forte is supposed to be. It's not like a rogue having a very specific cunning strike where like the rogue is going to strike either way, but this specific rogue can add poison or can make you go to sleep or whatever. Messing with a spell seems to be very large concept stuff.
Yeah.
Like a wizard or a sorcerer or a cleric should have those things and not really a ranger.
Yeah.
But like, what else are you going to do? Like Hunter's Mark is the thing that's there. So I think both of these subclasses work really well for me. I like them.
Yeah. I think they're fun. And it was a fun experiment to try and think of a holiday that wasn't the first thought in my mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, great stuff, Michael. Great stuff. We can all just have Daddy Rangers running around now.
Yeah. Don't worry, son. I'll protect you.
Indeed.
And all of your other friends on your baseball team.
Papa Ranger, help. Yeah, that'd be great.
I just imagine a ranger like running across a field with like gauze in their hand. Just like, I got it.
Yep.
Don't worry. I got the first aid kit.
Oh, great.
Cool. You want to roll for next week?
Let's do it. Michael, why don't you roll today for our newest prompt?
All right. Here we go. That is going to be a 17 on the die today, Dan.
17 is a very interesting prompt. This just says a constitution-based skill.
Yeah.
There are no skills for constitution.
There are not.
There are only saving throws. I fear that it's going to be a very short discussion about our actual creations next time.
I think so.
Because skills are not a very multifaceted creation for this.
They're pretty cut and dry. Constitution is weird because I think the general misconception of why there are no Constitution skills is because Constitution as a framework is meant to bolster your health, right? Mm-hmm. Constitution is your hit points, and that's it. Like, that's the same reason why people think there shouldn't be a Constitution-based casting class. Right. If you dip too far into prioritizing Constitution for something else, it's going to also raise your hit points, and it will be advantageous at some point. And I think the actual reason why there are no Constitution skills is because most of the things that you would use your Constitution for, your health for, are kind of already rolled into Constitution and strength saving throws.
Right.
Like it's very reactive. and not very proactive.
Yeah, you don't often think of using your constitution in an active way.
Correct.
So that will be interesting to think about.
I'm a fan of it though. I'm not opposed to at least having the discussion.
Yeah, I've definitely got some thoughts already a brewing for us to discuss next time. So should be a good one.
Yeah, I think maybe even just having an overall discussion regarding custom skills or table specific skills in general would be cool to have. I'm sure we could bring that into the discussion next week as well.
Definitely. Sounds great. Well,
sick.
Hey, we'll take any and all prompts. Maybe a challenge, but we will gladly try and tackle it.
We're not afraid of any prompt.
Absolutely not.
We just made 5-room dungeons. We can tackle constitution-based skills.
Should be able to. My goodness. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, Michael, it's been a pleasure as always. Tell me, do you have anything to say to the people before we say goodbye?
I, like normal, do have something to say to the people before we say goodbye.
Excellent.
It's very brief today. You and I have talked about this. Haven't really talked about it on the podcast. We are both musicians. I am a vocalist, an instrumentalist, and over the past couple months, I have been directing a musical, which I have done many times. But also, I have been music directing this musical, which it's my first time doing this, and also my first time directing a pit. If you are not a musical theater person, the pit is just the group of musicians that play underneath the actors that are on stage. I've never conducted a pit before. I've never conducted a band in my life. The thing that I would love to say to the listeners today, as I have discovered about myself over the past weeks, it's totally fine as an adult and good as an adult to be afraid and nervous about doing things that are new, because you're not going to be an expert when something is new to you. So you got to be a little bit uncomfortable and a little anxious sometimes. And I have found throughout this process that it feels good. I think that I'm good at it. I think that I definitely have a lot of growth ahead of me that I could achieve. But I was not nearly as bad as my brain was nervous that I would be. So yeah, go out and try new things and be bad at them. And be okay with that, because you're only going to get better the more you try them.
I very much encourage anyone to seek out some uncomfortability from time to time. Well, thanks, Michael. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'm excited to find out what we can discuss next week. Until then, folks, we will talk to you soon. And we hope you take care of yourselves. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.